Hey, you guys.
Hi,
How's it
everyone.
going? Portal coming at you. Oh, I almost didn't make it on time. Anyway.
It's been one of those days.
Yeah, like, woo.
Boy, it has been.
Nick of my teeth here. All right, you guys. Well, as you all know, there was a big earthquake over there in Australia. So we just really need to send a lot of our supportive love, all of our spirit guides, all of our ancestors, all hands on deck, crew, all hands on deck.
Yep.
So it's been a real crazy, weird, energetic day. But, you know, our sister Jules already was preparing for this earthquake. She already knew. So, and she was 100% correct. And I believe her. And she was right. And but there's so much more going on today. Like, I have a lot of friends that are just, you know, they're surviving cancer, or they're dealing with health problems, or there's people out there who need our help, that their families are fighting for their lives, like literally. So if we could just radiate that love that you feel deep within your being and just let it come out
from the heart space. Yep.
Yes. We need all hands on deck. Hold the line, y'all. Hold the line.
Yeah. Hold the light.
Hold the line.
Hold the light.
Yeah. So tonight, it's part 2 of our Esoteric Egypt, and we were going to have Mandy Moo, but unfortunately she couldn't make it tonight, so we're just going to kind of readjust ourselves with the program, and I'm sure that between Dalibor and Karen and Trina, it's going to be mind-blowing.
We'll work it out.
Yeah, we'll work it out.
We're good.
Yeah. And I look terrible. Oh my gosh, I've been working on it. Okay. Like, oh goodness.
No, you don't.
Oh, let's rock and roll. I've been wearing my safety stuff, and I just ripped it all off and made it tonight. So like, woo! You guys got to see me raw and unedited. Woo!
Love it.
It's all good. You're beautiful, Crystal.
Yeah, as usual.
All right. Let me see who's all in the chat tonight before we get on with our show. We have Chloe and Elderberry. Michelle Canterbury did a video today.
Hi, Michelle. It was beautiful.
Yeah, she did.
Like, ooh. I love it. Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, keep rolling out with those. I love it.
I was actually feeling kind of down under myself today, and I saw Michelle, and I was like, she's got a video? What? I'm like, I've never seen her live before. I've always talked to her. Well, I've talked to her a couple times on the phone, and then I've seen her, we text all the time, but I've never seen Michelle talking face Michelle. And then it really
so nice.
And it was
Real
it
time.
was love hugs she was giving, and
yes,
and I was just so happy, and it just kind of changed my whole attitude for the afternoon. I was really uplifted by it. So thanks, Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. We got David Castle in the house. Laurie's sister Kelly's in the house.
Hi, kitty cat.
David Castle's in the house. Greetings and favor to you. Al's in the house.
Oh,
Al. And Milky's mom's in the house.
Hi, Brenda.
Hi, Brenda.
Thank you so much, you guys, for joining us tonight. Oh, who else is in here? Lewis Boyce, Pajo.
Yeah.
Hi, Janine. Hi, Janine. Thank you guys so much for joining. I didn't miss anybody, did I?
Pajo, you got Pajo, right?
Pajo, yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Pajo.
Elderberry.
All right, let's get on to some good stuff tonight. So tonight we're going to be talking about Esoteric Egypt Part 2, but then again, we could probably have Part 2000 because we can talk about this forever with me. So go ahead, Theresa, if you'd like to say a few things first.
Well, first, I want to thank Gaza Kav. I don't know if he's in the house tonight, but he sent me some information because he like Mandy is doing some research. Gaza's actually from New Zealand, and that's where the earthquake happened. I think it was over in the New Zealand area. But
correct.
He has been looking into that. Plus, he's been living in Australia for a while. So we set up a text box for him and Mandy to start trying to communicate with one another. Not a text box, email. They're going back and forth. So anyway, he sent me some videos, and one of the pieces of information that I got out of it was like, oh, I remember some of this from a long time ago. But do you all remember stories that are all over the world in different cultures about the 7 wise people or the 7 sages or the wise man who came from a destroyed land and came with 7 strangers or came with 7 sages. It's a common story all over the world. So apparently, many thousands of years ago, a group of the most wise spiritual teachers. Now, see if there's synchronicity here for you guys. 7 of the most wise spiritual teachers set out on a divine mission of epic proportions to help rebuild mankind after a great deluge, establishing practices of a proto-religion based on the sun and the worship and deity of a sun deity. And this is evidenced in ancient texts depicted in hieroglyphs, statues, and other Neolithic art forms all over the world. The people of the earth had been returned to a state of primitive survival after this deluge, and it was these wisdom teachers who helped to establish new civilizations to support and uphold their beliefs. Their goal was apparently to refill the purpose of all human life. Remember we talked about the pyramid and the function of the pyramid? We talked about Enoch designing it in such a way as to help send energy out to rebuild the world.
Yes.
These people, apparently, these 7 sages and this wise teacher were responsible for orchestrating, and this is what many believe, don't know if it can be proved, but they apparently were behind the construction of all those ancient sites that aligned with the sun and other celestial bodies. And Dalibor and Karen and the rest of them will be talking about that tonight. Their traditions apparently survived because all these religions started being based off of that one thing. So it branched out. Each culture developed its own spin on it and put its own teachings in there, but they were all very basic and pretty much the same. So it's said that their wisdom and knowledge of megalithic construction and spiritual practices laid that foundation for all other belief systems that got built upon them, even though it was scattered, but it worked because religions evolved from that. There's a common story about these 7 sages, and Zep-Tepi is one of the very first prehistoric civilizations that refers to this. In Babylon, myths and legends, they're referred to as the Apakulu. Do I got that right? In ancient Egypt, at the temple of Edfu, the 7 sages of Greece, in the Vedas of India, in the civilization of Mesopotamia, in the archaeology of Easter Island, believe that, Easter Island, in North, Central, and South America, in our legends of the Slavic people, and a number of other cultures. At Zep-Tepi, it was supposed to be the very first prehistoric Egyptian civilization founded by 7 sages.
Wow.
They referred to them as the divine beings who came from the homeland of the prime evil ones. An island that sank during a catastrophic flood, the 7 sages fled their homes to bring the message to the world, and they inaugurated a new prehistoric Egyptian civilization, and later on, a larger civilization was developed and built on top of that. Okay? Keep it. In Babylonian myth and legends, the Apakulu are described as demigods, created by the god Enki. Their duty was to establish a culture and give civilization back to mankind. They served as priests of Enki and as advisors or sages to the earliest kings of Sumer before the flood. At the temple of Edfu, it describes how Thoth and Horus became gods and were accompanied by 7 sages who survived a deluge to the west of Egypt and set out in ships upon their quest to rebuild. We also have Osiris, who has been attributed to creating Egypt. He has a somewhat similar story. He survived also his destruction of his homeland. He had an island he came from that sunk underwater somewhere in the far east, also accompanied by 7 quote-unquote strangers in his civilizing mission. Getting this? In Mesopotamia, we have the Adarpa, who was said to have been one of 7 enlightened ones, the Efkalu. In India, we have the king of the Sun dynasty, accompanied by 7 Rishis, or sages. His name was Manu, meaning the first man of this new age. On Easter Island, local legends say the first king was said to have sent out 7 initiates, or explorers, on a mission to re-civilize the world because he dreamed his island would be sinking. The 7 molai, which are those megalithic statues that are all lined up on the coast, face the equinox sunset, and they supposedly are representing these 7 initiates.
Wow.
The North American Hopi, featuring...
I was going to say something, Theresa. Do you guys find recently they've been digging down into the Easter Island headstones, and they're finding out that they're actually possibly burial sites.
Yeah. The North American Hopi, fearing a great flood, the Hopis now, met a wisdom teacher called Markel in the Four Corners region of the United States, establishing settlements in alignment with the Orion constellation, which correlates with the most revered cosmology of ancient Egypt and Osiris, right? In North and South America, there are many tribal stories of a great wisdom teacher who appeared to them after a flood, accompanied by a group of helpers, said to have arrived in boats from the east, known as Quetzalcoatl, Votan, Quetzalcoatl, thank you.
Quetzalcoatl.
That's I can't even pronounce.
There you
Votan, Kukulkan, and Totakan, right? Totakan.
Good. You go, girl.
I'm trying. Votan, by the way. If y'all, I know Audrey's not here tonight, but she'd get a kick out of this. Votan.
Audrey is here tonight.
Oh, she is. Hi,
yes,
Audrey.
She is.
Hi.
So Votan in South America, it's the same name given to the great wisdom teacher of the Norse legends, Wotan or Odin. So Votan and Odin are supposed to be one and the same. Both ancient wise men who came from a destroyed land to rebuild civilization.
And also Kukulkan, the Mesoamerican god Kukulkan, that name is very similar to Cuchulainn, which is a legendary Celtic giant.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
That's
there will be a segment on the Celtic link later in the series, but yes. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to, Gaza, thank you for sharing this and for sending me onto the video that talked about all this. I took copious notes for you, Gaza, and we're going to try to get him on. He
you know what's so funny? You kept talking about the 7, and it's like, this is Andromeda 7.
7.
Yes,
7 sisters, and
Mandy.
It's like, wow.
Mandy
7
has
sisters.
a story.
Yep, the Pleiadian. Pleiadian constellation.
She told me, Mandy told me that she's sending us, or she was going to read it tonight if she had been here. There's a ancient Aboriginal dream story of the 7 sisters who ascended, and 3 fell back to Earth and became human incarnations. I think all of this has to do with the cosmology that we're going to talk with Dalibor a little bit tonight, but there are many 7 sisters stories that differ depending on the culture you're in. Sometimes it's 7 brothers. I saw one about the 7 misbehaving children. So sometimes it's children, sometimes it's sisters, and sometimes it's brothers. Good.
It's crazy too, because there's the 7.
Whoops.
Sorry about that.
Okay. So there's the 7 sisters. There's the 7 rays of creation, the 7 colors. I mean, this 7 is a big deal.
It's a big deal. 7 also appears in nature because there's only 7 visible planets that are visible to the naked eye, that would have been visible to all the people that didn't have technology in the past. Because if you eliminate the Earth, what do you see in the sky with the naked eye? You see the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. That's 7 planets. That because they didn't know that the moon was not a planet or the sun was not a planet, and Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto hadn't been discovered yet because you need telescopes to see those. So 7, it does make sense, and of course the main 3 of those would be Earth, Sun, and Moon. And those would be, since the number 3 also appears in all the ancient and classical legends, because you have in the Slavic mythos, you have the 3 brothers, the Czech, the Lech, and the Rus, that founded the major Slavic countries of this area. So that also corresponds to a Celtic legend of 2 brothers whose names I can't remember offhand. Whose names were
crazy. It's like
Beloves and Segoves.
Yeah.
If that's familiar to anybody. Those were 2 brothers. So, yeah, you have the numbers 3 and 7 appear. You also have the 7 chakras.
Right.
Which are 7 actual nerve centers in the human body, and that get replicated fractally because each of those chakras has 7 sub-chakras, and those 7 chakras also appear in your hands and in your feet. So, there's 7s all over the place anywhere you look.
And wasn't Karen going to tell us about an alignment that's going on, and we've got 6 planets plus the sun, that there again is 7.
Oh, yeah, in Aquarius, you're right. I didn't know it was on yet. Yeah, everything's in Aquarius right now, like 6 planets in Aquarius. And right now, what we're experiencing, most people right now, is the Mercury retrograde, which started January 30th. That extends for several weeks. And what happens with the Mercury retrograde is, and it's in Aquarius, and a retrograde lets us revisit or revise or regroup or rethink our plans. And it takes all of our issues that we've been dealing with, even up to a couple years, and refocuses it and forces that to look at all of our issues within that Mercury retrograde within that short period of time. So a lot of times you're processing up to 2 years worth of issues and different things within your cycles, and you do that within that Mercury retrograde that was happening right now, especially with it being in Aquarius as well. So with in Aquarius, it really gives us a chance to reassess everything and plan. And so there's a lot going on within those few weeks, the weeks going on right now till the end of the retrograde. So
I had asked Dalibor, chapter 1 talks about the 7 spheres and the concept of the universe being in a sphere, the Hermetic text.
Yes, the Hermetic 7 principles that does correspond to the 7 spheres, because in geometry, you can in 2-dimensional geometry, if you have a sphere, i.e. a circle, you can only surround that with 6 other spheres. So that's
Correct.
Also reflected in physics.
Right.
Yeah.
But then they're saying that. Go ahead, Trina.
Go ahead, Trina.
It's also in there's like 7 layers of the earth too. It's so weird how this goes through many layers of creation. So and these 7 wise things, or these 7 wise people, and the 7 stars, the 7 candlesticks, the 7 days of the week, the 7 rays of creation. It seems like these are all different archetypes of creation that are needed to make our system, especially here with what we got going on.
The earth has chakras just like the human body does. That's interesting. Yeah.
And like I said, each of those chakras, 7 chakras, has like 7 sub-chakras, just like each of the 7 Hermetic principles has like a sub-principle, one of those 7 principles that corresponds to that one principle. So let's say you have the 7th principle, which is gender, and you have the 5th principle, which is rhythm. When you have gender and rhythm, you have the sex act, for example, So that would be like the 5th chakra, the 5th principle of the 7th Hermetic principle. Yeah.
Didn't they think that the planets were alive and that each of these 7 bodies in our solar system were? That's how they became gods. They labeled them and named them as gods because they felt they were sentient beings.
And each of them was personified as a god. Like Mercury, that was Hermes. Jupiter, that was Zeus. Saturn, that was the Elohim or Yahweh.
Or Father Time,
Mars?
Kronos.
Kronos, yeah.
Too.
Saturn was
Kronos.
Mars was a god as well. He was the god of war.
Aries, yeah.
Aries, yeah.
So
it's I think
when you have
these
7, you have the 7 days of the week. The 7 days of the week. And if you multiply that by 4, you get the 28 days, which is a natural month.
That's
so it all makes sense. You got 7s anywhere you look.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So Trina, they talked about these people that worship this deity of the sun, who was said to have set out from a flooded land as the light bearer, as the bright white light. Well, that's what they referred to the sun as, but there was another sun further out behind that sun. So there's really 2 suns, and one of those is supposed to be Source. And they talk about the great white light. So they're saying that this leader who they deified was actually the sun who came down to Earth. So doesn't that's the pre religion of the Osiris, son of God, Jesus, son of God. It was all based on this.
Actually, like in the ancient Egyptian mythos, you had Ra, which was the body of the sun god, and then you had Aten, which was the rays of the sun that came from the sun. So so in other words, the Aten was like the spirit of the sun, whereas Ra was like the physical body of the sun that rose in the morning and set in the evening. So that also had like the dual aspect.
As above, so below, as within, as without. Those principles we see all through history and in our physical and spiritual, perception.
And since the sun is like the main planet, so to speak, or body that we can see, the main god was always like the sun god, and that applied to the ancient Egyptians when Akhenaten decided to simplify the Egyptian religion by focusing only on the sun god, because as anybody who studied Egyptology knows, there's like over 20,000 different Egyptian deities. In other words, the system was just getting way too complicated, even for the people of those days who lived and breathed this stuff. So that's why you usually have like a distillate of like the 3 main gods. Like in Christianity, you got the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. In my ancient Slavic culture, you had the god Svarog, Veles, and Jiva. And Jiva was a female deity, which sounds also suspiciously like Shiva. Exactly.
Yeah.
And the god Radegast is a synonym actually for Svarog. As Svarog, they theorize that the word origin comes from northern India, from the word svar, which means great heat, and in Czech, which is my native language, it means a weld. It also means great heat, but in general, it usually is intended to mean like a weld, like when you're welding something together. Strangely enough, the sun god was depicted as a man with a bull's head mounted on top of himself. This is a statue of him. Holding an axe in his left hand and a cup of wine made from a horn in his right hand.
Fascinating.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
In their subcultures, it's flipped. The sun is actually feminine and the moon is actually masculine. In other cultures, it's flipped.
It is, yeah. Well, in Slavic society, Earth is feminine, the moon is masculine, and the sun is masculine too, which would correspond to that Svarog, Veles, and Jiva trinity, or the so-called tricephalic gods that were worshipped like throughout the Slavic world. And his sacred tree is the is the linden tree, and that grows pretty much all over the world, and it's a unique tree because the leaves are shaped exactly like a heart. And you may have seen it. You may have seen it. It grows. It's very common here in Europe, but I've seen it in the United States as well.
Interesting, because I have a picture of a leaf that I took. It was a perfect heart. I wonder if it's from a linden tree. That'd be interesting.
It's got to be.
The
perfect heart.
Yeah. The body owl has a quick question. Hathor question. Can we hear about her?
Hathor.
Do you know anything
I think
about
I can.
Okay.
Let me.
Thank you, body owl.
While you look that up, Trina, I just wanted to throw out a few things just about, because we're talking about the Egyptian time frame and the past, and about the worship of the sun god, and when that was brought into our awareness, or our consciousness. And just in my studies, as far as what I've looked at, if you look at in the past, especially if you look at Velikovsky's work, especially Worlds in Collision, and the Thunderbolts Project and Electric Universe. And if you follow that whole vein, you'll realize that we at one time in the Purple Dawn of Creation actually were with Saturn, and Saturn was our sun. We were in a different physics back then. That's why the dinosaurs and the huge plants and, our physics were quite different as far as our photosynthesis and plants. And it was quite different then, and what our collection was as we floated through, the universe as we know it. And what happened was, by his work and what they've realized, is that there's a possibility that we were captured by our current sun at some time frame that goes along with catastrophic events that, as with myself, I study, in depth as far as catastrophic geology. And so then we were captured by the new sun, which we follow now, which would dictate with the Egyptian times now in the whole change, and why there's certain the outer planets, the gaseous planets, and the other planets have different declinations of, and different physics, and why they're different. And so there was that whole capturing and the whole change of our physics and environment. And so, everybody should look at that as far as, I think that's probably the time frame that we switched over from the megalith structures that we have no idea in advanced civilizations that built pre that catastrophic event. And when that happened, and the carryover, why the current cultures, even the Egyptians, just actually built on top of those megalithic structures that predate. And if you look back to Göbekli Tepe and the time frames of all of those, you'll find out that they're exactly that 12,068 years, which coincides with the geologic catastrophic event exactly. And if you want to look into back with that, with the Daihole Foundation and all of his work with the geologic records, the rock, it doesn't lie. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we can do all kinds of texts and read all kinds of different things written by man that changes over the years, and things written on paper and things. But the best thing to look at is the geologic records, because that doesn't lie and it doesn't change.
That's right.
It looks like there was a change of guard, and when that happened, we also stopped being able to live for thousands of years. Our lifespans were shortened along with those geological changes and physiological changes and everything. So
the physics, definitely. I think the physics on the planet definitely changed at that point when we collided with our current configuration with our current sun. And that's where we get the new sun culture, and tied into the new, the Egyptian cultures, and, and with the catastrophic event, I would imagine, remember the shifting and the tectonics and the plate movements and the movements of the, the whole setup. And that would have changed then. And remember, we talked about last week about the pyramids and about how their energy systems and how that they would have all aligned differently back then. And they're part of the pre-catastrophic culture, pre-flood, this occurrence of the capture into this new system. And so that existed back then, and we were all tied in
I got a question.
In a different frequency, different physics for sure
That
within
leads,
our whole. Go ahead.
me to my next logical question. If there was a change of guard then, is there a change of guard happening now? And how will that affect our world now? Because are we going into a new solar system?
Well, one thing is certain, like global warming is a reality, but it's not caused by mankind because all the other planets are heating up as well. I mean, the moon is actually heating up and it's gaining an atmosphere, which is unheard of. Mars is heating up. The polar regions are heating up. They're releasing water gas or steam. So these things are happening. So there's something happening with the sun, and we can't control it necessarily.
You know, it's funny you mentioned changing of a guard.
It's Go ahead, Trina. I'll put in on Dalibor after just about the.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Karen.
Oh, just keep your thought about the changing of the guard because Dalibor is correct because we are coming up to the next 12,068 years.
Exactly.
Check out the Diehold Foundation and the different cyclic events that happen and the extreme weather conditions and everything that happens. And we are coming up to that time frame again of the next event that resets everything. And we're getting close, yeah, for sure. As far as the next event, yeah, it's we're pretty close. It's like 2046, I think, around that date frame. As far as the next geologic event, if it's like clockwork, like they think it is, right? And if anybody wants to check in the declassified document based on the micronova burst, and I follow that as far as the glass beads and things that were different in layers every 12,068 years. Just check out the Adam and Eve story that was declassified by Thomas Chan and Suspicious Observers. And like I said, go really into that if you want to see.
Ben's awesome.
See, Ben's awesome. Yeah, we talked about it before. So yeah, so we're definitely coming to that point in time again for what Dalibor said as far as the next big event.
And we know that this happened, and last time it happened, it especially affected North America because basically all the native species of animals that were native to North America got wiped out. That's why you don't have the same species in North America that you see in like Europe. You don't see foxes, you don't see wolves. Instead, you have coyotes, which is a variety of the wolf, which you don't see anywhere else. You don't see elephants in the Americas. And same goes for certain types of larger plants like trees and stuff like that are different, which means, and there's a scientist, I can't remember his name, who proved that there was a giant tsunami that basically ran over the entire continent.
Dalibor. Yeah, that's exactly the document that was declassified that was by Thomas Chan, the Adam and Eve story. That's the exact document about the micronova burst that happened within the planet and our systems like clockwork every so many years. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
that's
the Hopi prophecy speaks of, how the two brothers, the poles, will return the Earth to its previous spin, which actually the sun rose in the west and went down. The sunset was in the east before. And they say that that's going to be corrected again, and we'll be spinning a different, whatever.
It's also strange that, like, for example, the Central Americans, like the Mayans and the Aztecs, their main point of reference was not north like it is for us, but it was west.
West.
Oddly enough. Yeah, west. And as a matter of fact, one of their main gods is Huitzilopochtli, which means the one with a blue hummingbird on his left-hand side, which would be the south, because he would be facing west. So, and generally they buried all their dead facing west. All their structures were oriented towards the west. So it's it goes to show you that society evolved during that time period when the sun rose in the west, because the Egyptians, on the other hand, were oriented towards the east, and the ancient Egyptian word for death was actually going west.
Stabbing Westward. There's a band called Stabbing Westward.
Ah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the fact that there was a global cataclysm is also evidenced by other things, but some of those could be anthropogenic. Like I would contend that humanity probably evolved somewhere around Europe, because Europe is the only continent besides North America that has no poisonous snakes, poisonous plants, poisonous insects, or of any kind, or even large predators that can kill you. In other words, there's nothing in the woods here in Europe, aside from the cold, that can kill you. Whereas in Australia, you have like poisonous shellfish, poisonous insects, snakes, and everything like that, which means that humans didn't have a chance to like exterminate those creatures, which would kind of go against the Strong theory, or Stephen and Evan Strong's theory, that humanity originated in Egypt and in Australia and then migrated to Egypt. I think it was more like the opposite.
Yeah, it could be.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, fascinating.
Yeah, there's also something about the rotation of these bodies, their movement together, and then the counter movement is creating some kind of duality, and that's where that whole principle of dualism. They're following in time, that everything happens at a certain time and certain events occur. So that they were reading the astral charts and going, these are things that affect our emotions and our behaviors. And they started assigning characteristics to that. So that was kind of a precursor to the whole philosophy on the dualism of man, the good and the bad, the yin, the yang.
Yeah, or the astronomical being reflected in events going on Earth. Like for example, the Mayans, they predicted the exact date that they would encounter European settlers from the West. They predicted that exact date, and it happened exactly as they predicted. And that was an earth-shattering event, because it was in effect the clash of two different civilizations that had never happened for thousands of years before that.
Right. It's just incredible how they've relied on on their own creation, if you will, of astrology.
Yeah.
They either brought that knowledge with them from somewhere else, or they just started creating it. That's the part that gets me. It's like maybe they came from somewhere else. And,
the problem is like the Mayans and the Aztecs, they had tons and tons of written information about their own history, except that was all burned by the church. They took all those documents and they burned them, or in effect only 12 documents have survived from that entire culture. And in other words, if it wasn't written down in stone, we don't know about it.
I'm going to throw something else out here just for a second here, because we're talking about how all around the world, all these cultures had similarities or came to the same conclusions or used the same things. And I'm going to throw out again pre-catastrophic floods and like big catastrophic, event when we talked about the last show about the usage of these pyramids and these structures of around the world. They would have been all aligned differently. They would have had different obelisks and used, and I'm saying it was basically an energy system. It was an energy system that connected everybody around the world in the same knowledge, frequency, and energy, and understanding. And it was a collective consciousness. They all knew the same information. That's why all the structures are built, and they were able to do that. And so it was what kept us in that advanced frequency, I guess, at the time. This is my thought. And so before the flood, and this is why, there's similarities between all of these pyramids, all these structures, all the alignments, all the ley lines, and before the catastrophic event. And at one time, I think, in fact, there was a crystalline grid system that connected it all together below the surface that during the catastrophic event, it gets shifted and moved, and that's why it gets disrupted. And there's portions of it, that we can still use today. For example, the Camino Trail that has the quartz all the way along the ridge, and it's part of the old crystalline system, and that's why people have such amazing, life-changing events and occurrences happening along, things like the Camino Trail. And so I think that was destroyed at one time pre-flood, right? That connected us together. So we were all fractured at that point, but we still maintained a refrain, knowledge, right? All that knowledge throughout history and how to use it and how it's connected. And that's why there's portions all over the world, that has the same.
Yeah, just the fact that you have the pyramids all over the world. I mean, you have the newest discovered pyramid is in Bosnia. It's also the largest known pyramid. It's also been dated to 30,000 years ago, with underground passages that are similar to those found underneath the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's also been confirmed to be made of geopolymer. In other words, concrete, and the concrete is better than the concrete that we can make today. It's been analyzed by a man named Samir Osmanagic, who had it analyzed in 3 different labs in the UK, in the US, and in Europe, and it confirms that it's concrete that's 30,000 years old. How did it get there, and why was it built?
30,000 years. That's pretty amazing that it still has its integrity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The chemical makeup.
I think we were more telepathic back in the day. We were more tapped in with our telepathy more than we are these days. I think we're starting to get kind of slowly back into, having the telepathy between each other. So there was probably more communication that way back in the day too.
Well, back in the day,
speaking of the feminine, did you want to hear about Hathor?
Oh yes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, go ahead, Trina.
Okay.
That ties in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is, and it's so funny because we are talking about changing the guards, and we've been under a patriarchal, masculine, sun worshiping system for a very, very long time.
Very true.
And when you look at Hathor, you're looking at the cosmic mother. She has been revered in cultures around the world for long before any of the patriarchal gods were even born. Okay, so it talks in here about long ago, human beings knew that everything was born of woman. So the Great Mother was honored as the creator of all. This is why they called the heavens the Milky Way, the source of the mother's milk. They knew everything emerged from her. Egyptians referred to her as Hathor, the cow goddess. This is why a lot of the deities wear the horns upon their head. It's representing the divine feminine. Yes, that's the divine feminine. So the milk and honey, or nuit, a term meaning night. In French, nuit is the mother of the starry skies. It is in her body that we travel after death through the sea of the galaxy. And even before the creation of a new heaven, there was none, the primordial ocean of mercy. So, also, when you look at Hathor, Hathor is the representation of the female.
The uterus. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is the main. It's about she gives life to all things.
If you put that up again, it looks also like a map of the Nile River meeting the delta of the Nile River.
Oh wow,
it sure does.
As it goes into the Mediterranean Sea.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And there's some more.
That's the Nile Delta. Amazing.
Wow. There you go, y'all. And this is from the Divine Sophia book.
Yep.
By Trisha McCannon.
Yep. Good book.
Oh, nice.
Very, very good book. But it talks about in here about how the Egyptian name of Ma comes from the cow. The cow was a very sacred name and sacred to the ancient mother. From the Isle of Crete to the sanctuaries of Egypt, the temples of the goddess were often adorned with the crescent horns, because this symbol resembles the shape of the fallopian tubes and the uterus of a woman's reproductive system. Like the symbols of the moon, the horns of the cow held endless possibility as the generating chalice of rebirth. In Sumeria, Ningharsag and Inanna were referred to as great cows, who brought milk and honey to all of humankind. According to the Hindu mythology, all the gods and the goddesses reside within the body of a cow. The Indian name for the cow is Gavamata, which means the seed syllable for mother, Ma. The cow is also associated with the great many divinities, including Lakshmi, the mother of compassion, as well as the great avatar Krishna and his wife Sita. In Native American cultures, the cow was honored as the great white buffalo calf woman, a goddess figure who came to earth to teach the balance between the animals, the rocks, the trees, and the humans, reminding human beings that our place within the eternal circle of life.
Wow.
Isis also was symbolized by a cow. The Egyptian goddess
Yes.
Isis. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
And
ladies and gentlemen, if these things are being synchronistic in your life, maybe tap into your feminine side. Maybe celebrate being feminine, and that doesn't mean that's gender restricted. Maybe paint some flowers or wear something really soft and silky that feels good. Whatever means feminine to you, it's probably time to start celebrating the feminine aspect and maybe give yourself a little bit more honor and reverence as far as the divine feminine aspect. But don't forget about those divine masculines. But that's showing up.
Well, the next time somebody calls you a fat cow, say, "You bet you, thank you."
Yeah,
absolutely.
Interesting that you
Cow
bring
I
that
can
up.
take. Did you have to say fat?
Why not? More plentiful.
Interesting that you mentioned that because my country, Czech Republic, is one of the only ones that was actually founded, or whose first actual ruler, was a woman, and not just any woman. She was a lesbian with her two sisters, and she was Libouche. And she was because there's different sets of mythologies. The first Czech was a man named Czech, and he was a farmer, and she was also a prophetess who foresaw her meeting with him and her sexual union with him, which means she was probably like a bisexual. And she said she saw in this vision that on this place, at this place, there will be a man. I will have sex with him, and I'm right on the threshold of his house. And the word for threshold means brach. And brach is where the word braha comes from, because it means threshold. So she was actually a bisexual, and she lived in a castle with her two sisters. I forget the names, so it's kind of unusual. And we also have like a Celtic mound that's in central Bohemia, that's kind of central to like our ancient legendary belief system, and that's Zeep Mountain. Few people know about this because for many years it was like walled off by the Iron Curtain, but it's near Prague, and it's a hill that's shaped pretty much exactly like a human breast, and or a sine curve. Yeah, and right at the very tip of it is a rotunda where allegedly Praotec, or the first Czech, is rumored to have lived. If you want, I've prepared some photographs of
By the way, Rocky's in the house.
Yeah,
he's a Texas brother.
It's the meatball.
He says he showed up at just the right time.
Okay. Share your screen. Yes, your entire screen share.
There we go. Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, this if you look at the surrounding areas, it's all flat land for many kilometers around. That's Jeep Mountain, and it's shaped like pretty much an exact bell curve, which is kind of unusual, which would also indicate artificiality. Um, this is what it looks like from the air. It's a perfect circle, just like the Celtic Mounds or Silbury Hill. It's and that's the rotunda right at the very tip. Here's the Wikipedia entry for it's pronounced Jeep. There is no equivalent to the letter J in any other language. Sorry, and yeah, it depends on from which angle you view the mountain, but it's yeah, it's a mystical mountain, and as I was saying before, it was alleged to have been discovered by the brothers Czech and Lech, and that corresponds to the Celtic brothers Belivis and Segovis, which, if you follow Celtic mythology, you may be familiar with. I'm not that familiar with it.
And this is going to sound bad, but even as a child, I would see hills and things as boobs in a woman's body. You know,
the curves.
Curves, yeah. So,
yeah.
As a kid, you know. Nothing wrong with it. It's natural, you know.
Yeah, so you're in touch with your feminine
I
side.
don't know. I used to think the turkey's neck was something else when I was a kid. It's true.
Yeah.
I was so turned off from. Yeah, it's just like, don't even go there, Mom, Dad. I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't go anymore.
Had me close my eyes in the grocery store, put a kiwi in my hand, and go, "What does that feel like, Mom?" It's balls, but I've never touched balls before. But she's sick.
Oh no, I wouldn't go anywhere near a turkey. I wouldn't stuff it or touch it because I thought that was something else. But I was a kid. What do I know? I have a question about something also, you guys, because I was looking at this and I'm like, I know you all can answer this. The ancients took the view that every organized physical body in the cosmos owed its very origin to the existence of a parent soul sphere that eternally pre-existed it. It surrounded it in an aura, and it was called the soul sphere. It was derived from the world soul, surrounding our own planet. So they thought that that there was an overall soul for everything.
Like
one soul.
An oversoul.
An oversoul.
That would be another word for consciousness.
That's it. Everything has consciousness. Everything.
Hold on. This is like, this book was talking about that. Remember I was talking about the oversoul groups and the different fractals out from that?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So,
yeah.
They're connected.
Right there.
There's all your spheres, and then there's an oversoul.
So
yeah, because, and then at the very, very top, I can't, let me see. Oh, let me go this way. See, the very, very top of that, there's that infinite point, and that infinite point is infinity. So that's before, you're into the soul at all.
That's where I went when I was a kid. That was interesting.
So it's almost like their thought, in other words, they were thinking about the world around them, and they're like, there's an oversoul, so therefore we must have a soul.
And it's pretty much the same as spirit, because in my culture, the word for soul and spirit is actually the same word. It's just the male version of the word and the female version of the word. It's duch is spirit, and dushe is soul.
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to figure out. So it seems to me like what the ancients did is they looked at everything from without, and they looked at the cosmos, and they defined who they were as spirit beings and brought that internally. So everything had a life, everything had a form, a movement, a motion. There was time, there was sentience, there was an oversoul, astral, physical, cosmic oversoul. And then that became to them, they brought that inside.
Well, how about the opposite? How about the opposite, Theresa? That it's
or
the
the
actual
opposite
is that it's from within, and that from within you create everything from without in the collective consciousness as it works, not the opposite. Not from seeing it from without. Right?
They were projecting it out. They were taking what
from
they were
within.
seeing from within and projecting it out to the cosmos.
Yeah, everything's created from within, from our perception, and everything, is from within us. And
well, see, that's my philosophy on things. Is that that's my belief? Is that people say, "Well, Theresa, how can you not say the planets are real?" I'm like, I'm not saying they're not real. I'm saying we manifest that they're an outward. We have
projection.
we have an introverse. We have a cosmos within us. You could take a microscope and go down to the minute level and see the galaxy.
Yeah,
it's within us. So we're projecting that out.
Every atom looks like a solar system.
Yeah, universe. You are the verse. You are the tones. You are the music. You're the frequencies. The sun is everything goes back to one is what I picked up in some gnosis. Everything goes, all the numbers, 7 is great, 11, 2, 2, 2. Everything eventually collapses back onto the one infinite 0 point.
Exactly. Well, look at the diagram that Trina just showed with the point and all the circulars. Well, that's a singularity, right?
Yeah.
We're all going towards a singularity.
Yeah. I visited there once when I was a consciousness pushing envelope kind of young kid. I went for a little visit and I'll never forget it. It's not something you can forget. Trust me.
Well, this goes back to David, Barry, and I, all of us. What is that sound? Something crunching? Somebody dropping something?
Somebody throwing marbles?
I don't know. That was crazy. So, David Barry and I both are like, what? There's one body, and we're all fractals of the one.
There's a story of how I don't know if it's Hindu, but there's an Indian story of how Brahma had hammered his bracelet and everything. The bracelet broke, and that's what everything is made of, is that broken bracelet. So
these are fundamental, basic from the very get-go beginning, before the flood, before everything.
Just told in a different way.
But just told in a different way. And then it got twisted. And then after the flood, when they had to rebuild, that's when they spread out and separated. So they came up with variations of their thoughts on, or their projections on creation and how we carnate or incarnate, or because there's always the stories about the fallen stars becoming bodies, and those bodies becoming great leaders and teachers. They're really talking about their own fall, right?
Yeah, let's go back to the actual, we create our reality. We even do to this day, Theresa. So it doesn't matter if you're 2,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, I don't care how long ago, or even today. We are the creators of our realities, period.
Right? That's right.
For real.
And so we have, if you take a look at what's going on today, without getting into it too deep, but if you take a look at everything that's going on, the thing that I have with David is you'd have to almost have a consensus. It's like the old philosophy classes that we took. Who decided a chair was a chair? We all somehow agreed to call that a chair. And whatever language we used for it, we all agreed that was an object that we would sit on.
Correct.
And therefore it became the chair. Do you realize how many millennia it's taken for us to manifest the world the way it is right now? So, and there's billions and billions and billions of us because we've repopulated. There's so many more now than there were in ancient times, so we think. So now we have to undo that, or we have to find a different way to think about what's around us. We have to take our minds now as a group, and it's not just 27 people in this chat room, or 256 people in Wayne's chat room, or even 1,000 followers or 5,000 followers. It takes almost all of us. So the question is, how many does it take to rethink our world? to make it a better place.
That's an excellent That's an excellent supposition.
I was just gonna say one. It's
Yeah,
you.
if we're all one, but yeah, and I have done that for myself.
Yeah,
I'm in the world that I want to be in every day.
Yes, exactly, Teresa. Like we have our realities. Okay, let's put it this way: that we have our circle of energy within each of our own realities or bubbles that create our existence, and the closer we are to an actual physical area, it's the more true or the reality that we live in, or we have influence on. But the further we get away, or it's farther and farther from our actual physical reality, it changes, right?
Belief changes reality. Belief changes reality. It's like Rupert Sheldrake demonstrated or discovered that the first time a scientist synthesizes a new chemical compound that's never been synthesized, it's very difficult to do so. It's very difficult to synthesize. But once it's been done and documented, okay, you mix these two chemicals together, heat it to whatever, and it becomes a lot easier to do the same thing by another scientist on the other side of the world. In other words, there's also a theory that, like, for example, the common drugs that we take, like, say, aspirin, only work because of the collective belief of all these other people that this particular compound will do this particular thing. That absent that, it would probably have no effect.
Yeah, that's right. And so the closer that we are to our reality, we have, like you say, Dalibor, more, how would you say,
more
like
conscious belief,
consciousness, belief, or more control, or more ability to manifest that within our reality. And the further and further away, it gets more and more difficult to manifest, to create that reality that you want.
Also,
so,
also when you see the reality behind the reality, or when you take off the first couple of layers of the onion and you see the reason behind the reason, then you become more powerful to change things. Like when you realize that the current situation today is not what they say it is, that the purpose is something entirely different, you become more powerful, because then you can spread that to other people, talk about it, and get more people to think the same way.
Yeah, and like Michelle said, I saw her comment, and she's correct. Our thinking is our destiny completely. Our thoughts are completely our power. It creates our complete reality. And like I was used that
think about
model,
it. Think about it. What's going on with right now with the political stuff? When you look at that breakdown of that word, govern, and then meant, that's mind control. And things are changing, and people aren't buying the whole. Things are changing. It's really.
We're no longer consenting what insults our intelligence and our spirits.
There you go.
Well, but it's also too about the recognition that they're trying to control the mind, and it's all about thought, and this is the most powerful tool. You do have. Michelle is spot on with that. I'm like, that's what they're trying to get. That's what they want. And that's what this is all about, because this is all mental. So,
correct.
Exactly. Government only works with the consent of the governed. And when we stop consenting to this government, then they lose their power, because their only job really is to do what we want them to do. And when they stop doing what we want them to do, it's like, what's the point? They've lost all legitimacy.
For sure.
How hard could it be to be a representative of the people? Just do what the people want. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Oh man, we as human beings, we just complicate.
But the complication comes in, Dalibor, is that everybody wants different things, and then you get into that minority majority thing, and who wants what, and then you where we at,
I'm an anarchist. Just rule yourself, think for yourself, think freely, and think, like shut everything out and think for yourself.
That's what I've been saying all along. I'm saying that we're only tolerating government because of the 1% good that they do, because 99% of what government does is pure evil. hate to say it, but that's the fact.
Yeah.
The 1% that they do, like building roads and welfare for old people, we keep it around for that because we see only the good aspects, but we don't ignore the 99% that's absolute and pure evil.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, you could say that in a sense, I am like a libertarian or whatever, and more people should be like that.
And I think that what I've noticed here, and I could be wrong, tell me if I'm right or wrong about this, or maybe it's not a matter of right or wrong, or maybe it's just a perception. It seems to me that the early mystery schools that they had in these proto-cultures and even in early Egypt were dedicated to reminding each other of what that collective consciousness is really supposed to. In other words, they were focusing their thoughts together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, they were a small civilization compared to a worldwide civilization that we have now. But those schools weren't just teaching. It wasn't like you were going to religious study. It was about tuning yourself. Audrey just said it's all about frequency. They were actually applying techniques and skills to up their frequency. They were doing the singing bowls probably. They had a way. So when they sent their kids to school, their kids weren't learning A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Those kids were learning how to meditate. They were learning how to use frequency and sound. They were learning how to lift themselves.
Did anybody see the guest that was on Leak Project the other day? The dude was talking about, how the Washington Monument has the 432 hertz frequency and stuff. I mean, that stuff was, these people, this is back then that those kids grew up with this knowledge of the, the Masons and stuff. They had that frequency, like they weren't learning ABCs, agreed. They were definitely learning something way bigger that's not taught in schools now.
Yeah,
Right.
and Crystal, we're back to, it was a 432 frequency because of the quartz, and then you'd have your capstone and thing, because we're back to, again, it was used as a repeater to send out frequency and vibration from the pyramids and all of those, systems that were doing energy system to hold a certain frequency and vibration, and of course they have a frequency to do that.
Right. So I know I kid around a lot about Hogwarts School of Wizardry and Magic. But seriously, people, that's what we need to reestablish, these
for real
mystery schools.
I think we're moving into that.
I think we are. I think we're moving into that.
Oh, yeah, we are, Teresa. There's even several people that have already started that, including Dr. Miller, and he's working with 2 or 3 people with that as well. So, yeah, there's lots of people doing that.
Speaking of the Washington Monument, it's also got the number 666 encoded in it because it's 555 feet tall, multiplied by 12 inches is 6,660 inches.
I found Paula from Rainbow Phoenix Rising from the Ashes. She actually did my birth chart, and 666 was encoded in my birth chart numbers.
Right.
Interesting.
That's an interesting number, because if you take the
it's
number,
not evil like people think it is.
it's if you take the number 6 and multiply it by itself, you get 36. And if you take all the numbers from 1 to 36 and add them up, you get 666.
Yeah, 369.
Yeah, that's where that comes from.
Yep, pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Man, this has been an hour's gone by already. I'm like, oh my god, all night.
I'm sorry, Mandy. Sorry she couldn't make it, but the next session we will do the Australian segment with Mandy, because she has uncovered so much. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for that. So guys, just send Australia, all our Australia family, all the love. And, there's a lot going on, so, keep yourself grounded, keep yourself centered, come hang out with us, and, we'll just talk about some really awesome things and spend time together. Now, don't forget, we also have that contest that we're doing. When are we going to do the reveal who the winner is?
Well, we're actually going to do the contest when we have our Mad Hatter celebration.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. When are we doing that?
Well, I've got it probably towards the end of the month. We're still getting the pictures in of everybody.
Okay.
And I might bump it up a week early, given how things are shuffling around with our schedule.
I already got my Mad Hatter shirt on. Woo!
Yeah. So we got what, 6 more, Al? 6 more contestants in, and we have, and we'll show them to you on Friday night, and we have more pictures coming in. So the more we get, the more fun it'll be. So please send your fun photos in.
Yeah, that's what's up.
So that we can get you in there. We'll put you in the video for next week. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Karen's been doing some stuff. I wanted to give her a chance.
Yeah.
In the announcement about the updates that Laurie and I were working with her on, but she's got some more significant things to tell you about with some folks that need our help.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes, we've been doing major updates to the Crystal Network and adding the Andromeda 7 aspect to it. And so there's tons there. We've been just updating things like crazy. So and lots of added members and just information. But on the front homepage, right at the very top for February, for the month of love, I did a whole splash for donation and Cajun Queen and her food bank. It's all about feeding, and helping out and donating. And we had a couple people on the Crystal Network that really need our help. They've been with us for several years. One is Yogi out of India that is struggling. He's been traveling the last 5 years teaching and healing people, and he usually gets donations and lives from the people that he helps, when he stays with them. And with the COVID and everything, that's restricted everything. And so there's a spot there to donate him because these are two people I put that are just the basic requirements of even food to feed themselves at this point. Yes, because of COVID. And another person is Roland. They're on the homepage with Cajun Queens, and Roland has quite a story, part of our network as well. And he worked full time and helped his ill mother and his brother who's autistic. And his mother recently passed away. He got COVID and was so sick and had to quit his job, and he's still responsible for his brother who's autistic. And they don't, even, financial assistance for food even. And so right at the front page, I have those two in their donation buttons, plus Cajun Queen, as far as the food bank is still for February, and, with the community. And right there, I have the whole Andromeda 7 as, with Elle saying about being humble and helping the community and with love and with the month of February. And if there's anybody else in our community that's suffering around the world that needs help, just let me know, touch base. We'll put a donation thing on the Crystal Network, with the Andromeda 7 group.
Yeah.
Just anybody. And this is only because of the changes that have happened in the world, in the outcomes with restrictions and, and people getting ill, and just what's been happening that has put some of our community, as you know, into this, these positions. So they're there, and I know everybody, whatever they can do, whatever anybody can do, anything, for any of our people. And if anybody needs anything, just let me know. We're adding lots to the community as far as products and services and, different areas. So if anybody has anything that they want to bring out to the community for products and selling or anything, you'll see all the updates. You got to check it out, and the whole network.
Awesome.
And just contact me, and I'll put your stuff up and help you sell things. And remember, it's a portal. Oh yeah, Dalibor showing his new little thing.
Yeah, Dalibor. Got to talk about that. It's very cool.
Yeah.
It's a gizmo I invented for bypassing the mask, where if you put it underneath your mask, it's actually just 6 clear tubes that are sewn together, and you put it under your chin. 6 clear tubes. You put it under your chin, and you can, when you put the mask over, you can actually breathe through the bottom. So if you wear like a turtleneck sweater that covers the bottom, they can't say anything. They can't, because here in Germany, you not only have to wear a mask, but you have to wear like the PPF2 mask, like the special mask. And if you don't wear it, they call the cops. It's in the store. It's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. And a lot of people can't wear it. I'm one of them. simply can't, because I didn't even know this, but when I was a 3-month-old baby, I was almost smothered by my pillow. And I didn't find out about this until I told my parents that I can't wear the mask. And they were like, well, maybe it's because of this.
Oh,
and so I have like a phobia of having my face covered. You know, no doctor's gonna write you a note that says like, oh, he's exempt because he almost died at the age of 3 months. You know, it's ridiculous.
It's that childhood trauma. It affects your life, your whole life. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, guys, we're going to add links in the description for the Crystal Quartz Network, so you can go over to the front of the page and donate to those people in need, and also Cajun Queens. So don't forget, it'll be in the description.
Those links are in the description for you all. Yes.
Yeah.
And good luck on your trip tomorrow, Rocky. Be safe on your travels, and keep in touch with us. Come on when you can.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, my exes live in Texas.
And listen, folks, it was wonderful to get that information from Gaza. If there's anybody else out there that wants to contribute to the Esoteric Egypt series and send us any research that you're doing or want to come on the show, let me know. We'll get you up here. We'll get you hooked in, and we'll keep it going because we're learning a lot here. So
I'll make one more thing about Gaza. Actually, he's on the Crystal Network on the Adventures page. If you go on there, there's a whole splash with him and what he does in Australia and some of his artwork, Gary. And so, Gary, just let you know if you, with your newest stuff, I'll get in touch with you and get the links, and we'll add that all in the area. Anything you're doing, updated as well. So just to let you know, he's on the network too, and what he does in Australia too. It's just on our Adventures page.
We could even do a pre-record with him. We can get him on there maybe with Dalibor and have a discussion, and then play it here on the program one night because he works when we're on. He can't do it on Friday and on Wednesday nights. But
exactly.
So we could do that too. So
I just piped this baby.
Oh wow.
Nice. I love the colors.
So pretty.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Ylang and amber.
Nice.
Oh, two of my favorites.
That's great.
Honey. Oh, honey. I mixed it up and I was like, I'm sitting there, I'm like,
Hey, Deborah Sloan, your box is on the way. She has a box coming to her.
Right on.
So does Janice. Yeah. I had to rebox it. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you and Marcia Price and others do this with the post office, but they made me say, they said these boxes are too small because your items are too close to the surface of the closing. So if we drop the box, it could cause a problem. You have to get a different size box, which they don't supply. So I had to look everywhere to find a box. Then I found that box, and I go back, and they're like, oh, well, because of the dimensions of the box, the postage is completely different now. Like, completely different. I bubble packed. So I'm like, how do you do it? How do you girls do that with your business? How do you
pain in the ass is what it is.
Because I mean, the shipping alone on these things. I mean, I'm like, for God's sakes, you're ended up paying more for shipping for an item than you are for the item that.
Yeah.
Well, see, crazy. I used to be competitive on eBay because I'm an avid eBayer by sending all my items to the United States from Czech Republic, but I can't get there nowadays because the shipping from Czech Republic is about 1/3 of what it costs to ship it from Germany. And now that I can't get there, which is only 40 kilometers from here, but I can't get there, so I have to stop.
This is a $13 book, okay? 13 used, 18 new. Okay, it's a great book. And they wanted $39 just to send it to Dalibor.
You know how much it would. You know how much it would.
Like no.
You know how much that costs to ship from Czech Republic to the U.S. $8. $8.
Wow.
But if I ship it from here, it would cost the same. Yeah.
Wow.
It's insane. This is they're out of.
We're gonna have to start putting like pigeons to work and huskies to work. And
I'm buying myself a damn drone and flying these things.
Right.
Oh my God. I was diving.
create your own drone mail system. You'll be a zillionaire.
That was my idea of having like
Guys.
solar dirigibles that would pick up and drop packages off like worldwide, like a network of them.
Yeah, Trina.
Yeah.
I think I saw my first drone highway patrol today.
Oh, wow.
Weird.
Ooh.
Yeah, I
Did you
saw.
wave
I
to it?
saw.
I'd be like,
I was shocked. I was like, "That's a drone." You know what I mean? I was floored. I was like, and it was just sitting straight over the freeway, just sitting there. I was like, "Whoa, wow!" First time for me to see that. Yeah.
Oh, he's already in Texas. Where the heck is wrong with me? How did he get to Texas that quick? Oh, he flew. Duh.
Who?
I was confused about Rocky's travel. I thought he was leaving tomorrow for Texas, but apparently he's already there.
Oh, wow.
That's why I thought somehow I lost a day here somewhere and I don't know where it went. And that keeps happening to me. I lost a whole day and I don't know where it went. Oh, bad news.
Well, you're here with us now, and that's all that matters.
Yep. There you go. Anyway, yep. Send those photos in.
Yes. And,
good night,
make
everybody.
Sure
we
when
appreciate
we upload,
you coming.
Make sure you stay for the end of the credits. Big Al, thank you so much wherever you are. Hopefully you're driving safe. Be safe. I invoke your safety and for Dave. And I think make sure you guys don't get to those links and donate. And we appreciate you coming tonight. We have so much more coming. Of course, don't forget Friday's show at 8 o'clock as well.
Yes.
He drove to Texas, a 14-hour trip. Oh, he must be close. Wow, that's pretty cool.
I might go see Marcia.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I got a package from Marcia today, too. I got to look into that. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're going to love that.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I want to go dig for crystals. So
Me
I think
too.
I'm going to go do that.
Where are you going to dig for crystals? Is everybody coming up to see me? Where are you going?
Go.
There you go.
Arkansas, because we don't want to cross the borders.
Yeah.
That's true. But you know what?
I would totally go to Arkansas, guys.
Arkansas is the best. You guys got to go to Arkansas.
Yeah.
You need to go to Mount Ida. Okay.
Mount Ida.
Yeah, Johanne, we're glad you made it too, Johanne. She disappeared off of Facebook and Messenger. She's in jail or something.
Oh, no.
Johanne, you should put your email address in here so everybody knows how to send you an email.
Yeah.
Put your email address in here,
There
Johanne.
you go.
Then at least we can get a hold of you that way. Yeah.
Oh, and don't forget, guys, Miss Nina the Mystic, she's got a new t-shirt out. If you guys want to go over to Nina the Mystic's channel, she does the Hump Day Wednesday messages. She's got some new t-shirts designed out. So go and show Sister Nina some support. I got a little tank top thing.
Right on.
Oh, and please send your intents to Brian Lunsford because he's having a lot of teeth extracted this weekend, and he asked for some strength and energy to help him get through that because
I'm sure he'll be able to use that. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
Wow.
And extra super strength to Mandy Moo, please, with her daughter and her family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most definitely.
Yep. And she'll be
back. This is why I'm not getting to bed till 4 a.m, huh? There's so much work to do.
But speaking of crystals, back when I lived in the tri-state area, there was a place I wanted to visit in Connecticut. It's called Glastonbury, which is interesting because there's a mystical place in England called Glastonbury where there's like
that's right. Yeah.
Something like Stonehenge over there.
Yeah.
And there's also like pegmatite crystals that are to be found in both locations in Glastonbury, Connecticut and Glastonbury, England, which is interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is interesting. Yeah.
How about all the
I think I might
artifacts they're finding over in the Grand Canyon area? That's interesting too.
I've known about that for a long time, and it's fascinating. And I mean, guys, this underground tunnel system, there was the original stuff that came out in the newspaper back. It was 30 years ago. They showed a picture of like a wall full of sarcophaguses, and it was like a beehive, and the wall was just loaded with these standing up, full-blown giants and kings. It was amazing.
So crazy.
Wow.
True story.
I've heard about that. Yeah.
You know how last week I asked if there was a book out there for crystals for dummies? There really is. And do you want to know how many?
I was wondering that.
Do you want to know how many people emailed me or sent me PDF files?
I bet they did. Yeah.
Like 1,000.
I have some of those dummy books, and they're really good. One of the dummy books I have is Neuro-Linguistic Reprogramming.
Nice.
That's a very interesting one.
NLP for dummies.
NLP. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, Brenda and I are both looking for resources and information on herbs that can help diabetics like myself and others to
what you need to do is you need to go to getthetea.com, and his new product they're saying is doing amazing things for that. It's called oh gosh, I can't remember. Look on his website, but it's got the ginger and the cinnamon. Getthetea.com.
Getthetea.com.
Yeah.
I drink tea.
Yep, getthetea.com.
As well, like similar to Trina, just on the Crystal Network, there's the Psychic Teas that has the whole blend of, and it has the same blends like you said with the cinnamon and ginger, and it has about 12 or 13 things on it. By he's a homeopathic doctor as well, and so his teas are good too. Both are really good, and the one you said is good too. I've done that too. So
where on the website
blood sugar?
Is that under?
Psychic Teas.
Yeah, get the.
Okay.
They're just on the web page.
Tea.
He's on our homepage, right on the front and the products page and different things. But Get the Tea is really good too. They're both really good because I've done both. So.
Well, I just know that his cinnamon products, like his GI Joy, I've tried it, and the colostrum I've tried, and I've tried his what was the collagen, and I will tell you his products are good. So he's got one right now that he's been working on that's controlling the helping with the diabetic sugar spikes and stuff. So
thanks. I'll let Brenda know. I think she's already left, but I'll let her know. I don't know if she's still here or not.
I was able to overcome
cinnamon,
diabetes.
Guys. Yeah,
that's what I use.
There are seriously there are herbs, if you can find them properly, you find out what works with your body. And I mean, unless you're over 350 pounds and you were born with diabetes, literally they claim it's curable now. Completely curable.
I got over it. One of the things that helped me was not just garlic, raw garlic every day, ginger, but I was also taking a very small amount of xylitol, about a quarter teaspoon every day, xylitol. Not as a sweetener. It is a sweetener, but I wasn't using it as a sweetener. I cut out all sweets, but this was like years and years ago. I actually lost weight just by moving to Europe, because in the United States they put high fructose corn syrup in everything. They put even put it in salami or bread. It contains high fructose corn syrup, whereas over here they don't do that. And the thing with high fructose corn syrup is it's derived from corn, and most of the corn that's grown in the U.S. is genetically modified. So, that's not good for you. In other words, it's not corn. It's like corn. So, in other words, I've never been overweight, but when I first moved to Europe in 2004, I was diagnosed with diabetes. I was drinking 8 gallons of water a day, and it was horrific because I couldn't sleep, because I was constantly getting up to go to the bathroom and drink more water and stuff like that. And I got over it with just herbal medicine and some homeopathy, because I went to a specialized doctor who's a real physician, but he also practices homeopathy on the side, and he's got a device called an Oberon machine, where you hold one of the electrodes in your hand and you put your foot on the other one, and he takes vials of like samples and he puts it in the machine and figures out which one's the right one for you. And I had neuropathy in both my hands. I couldn't feel my fingers in either hand, and he got rid of that. It took a while. It took about 6 months, but it worked. So
it can be done.
Ken is saying it is curable. I did it with iodine.
That's one of the things I think in the Get the Tea stuff. So Ronnie, you're welcome for the free plug. I love you, brother.
I was doing iodine too, except that you have to really be careful with that and do it only when you wake up. You take like 1 to 3 drops of iodine in water, but only when you wake up. Why? Because what iodine does is it wakes up your thyroid, because your thyroid has a different sleep cycle from your brain, and you want to coordinate.
And you got to be careful with sun exposure if you're on iodine. So there's precautions. So check with your doctors. We're not giving medical advice. We're just saying what we're hearing. And like I said, this cure for diabetes, I heard this on the radio in Phoenix on 3 different occasions with, different clinics that are claiming, go take our vitamins, our products. There's no medication involved, and they're claiming that you can cure this problem. So guys, there's really a lot of evidence now on how to handle that.
The earth has a solution for our ailments.
Yeah.
And I heard
every ailment.
Well,
it's a big problem
the
in the
thing
US.
I heard about was the insulin.
That's type 1 diabetes.
And the insulin prices, I mean, they just went through the roofs again. I mean, they increased.
And it was thanks to Trump. Trump was keeping down the prices of like certain medications like insulin. And with the Biden regime, the Biden regime like reversed all that, and now one of my friends is a type 1 diabetic, and he's like suffering big time because not only because of the COVID restrictions, he can't do his job, stuff like that. It's totally ridiculous.
Yep.
Well, guys, it's been so much fun.
Yeah,
I love you guys so much.
Absolutely.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Love everybody.
Much love.
Bye, everybody.